I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is our nerdiest thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to our nerdiest thing. Today, we're continuing our discussion of Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver, Book 3 of the Ruinous Love Trilogy. Today, we are discussing chapters Left Unsaid through Push to Shove. Quick reminder, these chapters don't have numbers.
I know. It's so weird.
It is really weird. We're just going with the titles. And we're missing our cohort, Deb, for at least the first little bit of this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and share our nerdiest cocktail. Tonight's drink is named Ta-da, motherfucker. Oh, I see why you asked. Have you read this yet? That's funny. It is themed after an endless well of chaos. This drink pairs well with questionable last-minute decisions, any trouble whatsoever, and stabbing a douchebag. And this drink may cause you to need help getting rid of a body. It is a very lovely color. It's like a green teal.
It's like
nice.
An island cooler with a kick. It's got it's like coconut rum and blue curacao and fireball and pineapple juice. It sounds super weird. I was a little worried about it.
Oh, I think it sounds really summery.
Very, very good.
And it's a fun summery color. It's very nice. Well done.
I've already finished my first one. That bodes super Mindy. Well for the rest of the podcast.
That just means it's going to be really fun. So make sure you make that drink, friends. And now it's time for the Nerdy and Dirty Recap, where the wheel has spoken and somebody has 30 seconds to give us a 30-second recap of what happened in this section of the book. So Mindy, the wheel has spoken, and whose name did it share?
It's me, and I'm super nervous because so much happens in these books.
I know. They're not super long sections, but they're like dense.
And sometimes the names don't roll off the tongue very well.
That's true. All right. Well, you've got 30 seconds on the clock and go.
Fionn ponders what the fuck he's doing by taking Rose to his house. She could be a crazed murderer, but he already has a room ready for her. Rose admits she didn't get in a motorcycle accident, and she in fact porcupined Cranwell in the eyeball because he is abusing his wife. Fionn asks Lachlan for help finding information, and then goes and creeps on him on Cranwell in his barn while deciding whether or not he's going to kill him with a wrench. Rose goes to a hunting and fishing store, runs into a skanky abuser guy named Eric, buys a knife, and then hijacks his truck. Her phone rings, giving her away. She has to call Fionn to help. She staples Eric's eyelids open. By the way, she's killed him by this point.
Go ahead and finish it out. That was
surprisingly
really
Fionn kind of takes it in stride, and they push the truck into the river while Rose drinks the man's beer, and then they ride off into the sunset.
That is pretty much. Yeah, Fionn does take it in stride, doesn't he? Oh man, that was really good because, like you said, there is a lot that happened in this section. It's
so funny because, like, I put like little tidbits to help me like jog my memory. And I always think, oh, that's not very much. But it definitely is.
It really is, yeah. 30 seconds is not very much time for... And it's still kind of the opening of the book, right? Like
right. We're still learning stuff. We're still...
setting up the world.
Well, and now it's the first big, like, scene.
Yeah, it is the first big scene. That's true. Well, Mindy, you still have the floor. Will you please share with us our nerdiest vocabulary?
We got a real simple one today. It's not very... There's nothing super, like...
mind-blowing.
Yes, out of this one. But I just loved the word fisticuffs. And
I do too.
Because one of my favorite quotes is from Rose when Fionn tells her about the raccoon who visits his clinic. And she says, I kind of wouldn't mind watching Dr. McSpicy rolling up his sleeves and getting into fisticuffs with a crazed trash panda.
That's one of my favorite quotes this section too.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. I thought I'd figure out, like, obviously we know what fisticuffs is. It's basically just fighting. But I wanted to see, like, where it comes from. And is there, again, nothing too surprising here. First used in English around the 1600s, and it comes from the word fisty, which means relating to the fists.
Oh, that sounds sexy.
And cuff, which also sounds a little sexy.
Yeah, right.
Meaning to strike. So it's basically just a fancy old-fashioned word for fist fighting, and in particular, bare-knuckled fist fighting.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. My sister loves that word, fisticuffs.
It's funny.
She used to say it a lot in, I think, college, maybe high school and college, but
it's definitely one of those SAT words.
It is. And it sounds like such an old-timey word. Yeah. Like, it sounds like it belongs in a Western, in a saloon.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I love that. That word stood out to me a lot too. Well, thank you so much, Mindy, both for the recap and for the vocab and for the cocktail as well.
Well, you're welcome.
Bravo.
Covering all the bases
Yeah,
tonight.
this is a Mindy heavy opening and an intro. I forgot to say this at the very, very beginning of the episode, but trigger warnings, guys. Trigger warnings for this book in general, not just because of the unaliving and things, but also the theme throughout the book of domestic violence and getting back at the perpetrators of domestic violence. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but
revenge.
Revenge. That's good. That's a good way to say it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some serial killers a little bit later. In the episode,
and I am going to be talking about disposing of dead bodies.
Oh, well, there you go. So just trigger. Hello.
Yeah.
Maybe don't read this book. If
that's going to bother you.
Yeah, if those are going to be issues for you. Well, let's go ahead and get into our favorite moment or favorite twist.
You want to go?
Sure. This was actually really hard for me because I did not enjoy this section very much. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later when we talk about our least favorite moments. But it was hard for me to pick something that I genuinely enjoyed. So this is really just a very small part. It's just a couple of moments really of Fionn and Rose's banter, which I did really enjoy. I really enjoyed the reveal that Barbara is a drug addicted raccoon. That made me laugh quite a bit.
So funny.
Yes. And like you were talking about the fisticuffs, that made me laugh a lot. I enjoyed that. And the other little moment that I liked a lot was just the pieces of banter after Fionn shows up to help Rose with Eric and his truck at the end of this section. There's a lot about that whole scene that I did not like. But their banter with each other and some of the examples of my favorite quotes will go into more detail about this. I did enjoy the way that they talked to each other. I liked that a lot. But overall, this section was rough for me.
Yeah, I have two small moments. When Fionn convinces Rose to stay by making up shit about Cranwell to appease her so that he won't come looking for her, telling
you'll totally be safe.
Yeah, she's like she can watch him get beat up by the trash panda and telling her he would be worried about her and the corn children. I mean, it was just really cute. He's totally making it all up, right? And he's like, I don't know, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But then the other moment that was really, and I probably should have put this in my favorite spicy scene, actually, now that I think about it, but was Fionn's "who did this to you" moment when he sees Rose for the first time after the truck incident.
Yeah. She's sees her covered with blood.
Yeah, and he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Well, that would be horrifying for anybody to see.
Yeah.
And I love that doctor moment of look for the injury, right? Where's the source?
The blood coming from?
Yeah, the source of all this bleeding, but it was in the truck. Well, let's talk about our least favorite. Our less favorite moment.
You sound like the guy from Father of the Bride.
George Barnes. Oh man, what was your least favorite moment, Mindy?
Mine, aside from the random icons interspersed through the chapters, we had talked about this last week. It's very
so
distracting,
annoying.
and now that I'll think about it, it's very, very distracting. They're super erratic. It breaks up the dialogue in a weird way.
There's a ton of them. It's so weird.
Maybe it's done on purpose to give the essence of chaos. Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
But it's too chaotic.
I feel like that's generous.
Yeah, I know.
That's a generous assumption.
I know. I'm just trying to, to be nice, but because it really bothered me. But the other least favorite moment I had was the way that Cranwell talks to his wife on the phone. Oh, yeah. It's disgusting and degrading.
The guy in the truck? Or
no, Cranwell. When Fionn goes to his barn and he's working and then his wife calls. That one too, though. Yeah. Same thing. But and he's small dick energy, just
very much so.
Just really, really degrading, and it just made me, I don't know, made my stomach crawl.
Well, not just crappy abusive husband, but also just crappy dad.
Yeah,
your kid is sick.
Your kid is right there.
Right, your child is sick, and you're like, fix me dinner, bitch. Okay, that's
no, thank you.
Yeah, just all around terrible person.
Yes, he is.
Well, I also had a hard time choosing one least favorite moment because there were several. I wrote in my notes, where to start? But honestly, for me, it's Fionn and Rose pushing forward with their not at all thought through actions. It really bothered me.
Super bad impulse control.
I mean, it's real bad. And I'm way more annoyed with Rose than I am with Fionn because we've already seen this with Rose in the first section of the book. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen it yet with Fionn. And so I'm like, well, I'll give you another chance. You know? But it's unhinged and not in a fun way. It doesn't, I don't know if it's supposed to be like, she's so crazy, but it doesn't come across that way.
It comes across as desperate.
And stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's just dumb.
Yeah.
And putting yourself in these really idiotic situations where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's not what Bryn Weaver is going for. And I don't know. I feel like Rose especially, but both Fionn and Rose were very just careless and putting themselves in dangerous situations that could have been planned out better and could have given them a better end result.
Right.
With both Cranwell and with Eric, the guy in the truck.
Yeah.
You know?
Like for me, I'm wondering if some stuff ended up on the editing floor because like the whole thing about Rose just jumping into the car, like that was not thought out at all. Like that came out of nowhere for me. I'm like, what the hell is she doing? Like, I get it's supposed to be a passionate thing.
Sure.
But come on, girl.
I think,
you can't even hardly walk.
Right. Well, I'm going to talk a lot about the mistakes that she made in a little bit, but she lacks the skill, right? Because in the first two books, we see Lachlan and Lark and we see Rowan and Sloane doing the same kind of like not thinking through and just acting without thinking about it first. But they all four have a lot of skill to take care of themselves and they also have the confidence to follow through with whatever they're aiming to do. Right. And Rose just doesn't. She just doesn't. Yeah. She doesn't have the confidence because she shouldn't, frankly, because she hasn't done this before. But she doesn't have the skill to do what she's trying to do. And it really, really bothers me.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across as like fun, goofy, crazy, unhinged the way that the first two books do for me.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. Like you're being stupid. Like stop being stupid, you know?
Get a grip and think about something first.
Yeah.
Use your brain.
It bugs me quite a bit. And that will be a theme throughout the rest of this episode with my thoughts and feelings. Well, that brings us to biggest revelation. You go first, Mindy. What was your biggest revelation this section?
There wasn't a whole lot, but I had two small ones when Fionn realizes that Lucy Cranwell basically had a tiny little red flag the only time he's ever seen her, and it makes him want to like go feral on her husband when she there's one little thing she mentions and he thought about it for a second and then
he wants to know he likes to know where I am.
Yeah. And so that was I had missed that in my first read that he kind of beats himself up about that. I mean, kind of he should.
I know. Well, it's like as a victim himself, right? I feel like it's one of those like calls to like you recognize it because you experienced it.
If he didn't even think about it, okay. But like he actually thought about it for a second and I'm like, if that's, if that's something I would anyway, whatever. And then when Fionn shows Rose to her room and there's like brand new bedding on it and you kind of realize that he's had this planned all along hoping that she would say yes to staying with him. Like he was already prepared for her to be there.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet. That was at least thought through.
Right. Yeah. But not
some impulse. But he did. He thought enough about it to order some new stuff, which I did.
But
appreciate.
not necessary. Like he probably already had bedding on that bed.
Yeah, but it wasn't girly. It wasn't good enough for Rose. Well, my biggest revelation is just like my own thought process as opposed to realizing something about the story. So my biggest revelation is that Fionn is a little bit of a Tamlin in this section for me. Oh. And let me tell you why I think so. I hope that this is a fluke and not the start of something that I'm going to keep seeing for just like my own opinion. But when he brings Rose to his house, he offers her something to eat and she's like, yes, I'm hungry. And then he does something unforgivable and makes her
the disgusting smoothie.
A green smoothie. First of all, why would you ever do that? Like for somebody that you don't know, like this is the kind of thing that they're into. Why would you make them a green smoothie for like a snack? That is so weird.
I just think he's clueless.
I mean, he is clueless. Yeah. But then even worse than that, I making this smoothie in the first place, I thought was like psychopathic. But then she is like, ew, this is gross. And so he's like, haha, my bad. And takes it. And then he doesn't give her anything else.
Oh, that's
He takes the
true.
smoothie away and takes it back to the kitchen and then is like, well, let me show you to your room, and doesn't give her any other food. And she was hungry to the point
That
that
is
he
weird.
could hear her stomach growling. And I was
even
like,
think about
this
that.
is such a freaking Tamlin thing of like, oh, you can't read? Let
Yeah.
me give you these, write you these poems
Right.
instead. And like, oh, you're hungry? Let me give you something disgusting and then not give you anything. I thought that was so crazy.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought of it that way. I was just like, oh, he's just clueless.
He is though, but still like, dude, like, do you not have crackers or a banana? Like, just what is this? It was so crazy to me to not have any alternative snack. Like, I thought that was insane. So I wrote in my notes, this is real limerick vibes. That's what I wrote down. I did not enjoy that.
Interesting.
I did not enjoy that at all.
I mean, now that you've said it, I'm like, yeah, that is really kind of Tamlin. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of went with it because he's so like awkward.
He is. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He is super awkward. But I thought it was weird. I think it's weird too that Rose doesn't say, do you have something else? Like,
Yeah. Do you have anything else for me to eat?
yeah,
please?
like, I'm still hungry. This smoothie's disgusting, but like, do you have like a spoonful of
Props
peanut
to
butter?
her for watching him make it and still taking a sip.
I mean, that's unhinged. Of
Interesting.
all of the unhinged behavior, that was the most egregious.
That's where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the line.
The green
for real.
smoothie.
There wasn't really a spicy scene.
No.
But what was your favorite scene?
I put the one I made up in my head of Theon. Because he's got to be sexy, right? I mean, his brothers are super sexy.
I mean, yeah.
When I picture him in my head, he's sexy golden retriever.
So, like, your favorite spicy scene is you imagining Theon?
Fantasizing about
That's
Theon.
fantasizing. Well, for me, I'm pulling a Deb from last week because last week she was like, well, my favorite moment is my favorite scene because
Yeah.
there's not a spicy scene, and that's what I'm doing
Yeah.
this week too. I really do enjoy the banter between Theon and Rose when they start to feel comfortable enough to like go there with each other.
Right.
But Theon is usually, like you were saying, so awkward and so like closed off that I do really enjoy the fun banter, like when it actually happens.
When he relaxes and
Yes,
doesn't.
when he chills out a little bit. Well, that brings us to chapter MVP, and I'll go first because mine might be a little bit different. My chapter MVP is the hunting supply store owner.
Oh, yeah.
Or I assume he's the owner, the guy who's working the counter. I am just so intrigued by this guy who Rose thinks in her POV, he's probably seen a lot of crazy things, and I kind of want to know everything about him. I would love a bonus chapter or a novella from his POV. Like, who is this guy? He's in this small town, and it is Nebraska, like we were talking about last week. He lives in this small town in Nebraska. He is watching Rose interact with this douchey dude that he warns her about, right? And then sells her a knife while she's looking out the window at this douchey dude.
Right.
And then I assume he's going to hear sooner rather than later that Eric is gone and like hasn't been seen in a while. And like, is the store owner going to like put two and two together? Is he assuming that she's going to do something bad when he sells her the knife? Who is this guy?
Is he trying to get her to do it?
Right, exactly. Like, I'm very interested in this. In this guy and this store owner and who he is and what he's seen. Like, what's going on with him? I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would love to know more.
Well, this is a little awkward because my chapter MVP is actually Theon.
That's not awkward.
Because, and here's why. First of all, I didn't feel like there was anybody that was like really smart in driving the story in these chapters.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah.
I didn't think about that guy, and you're right. I think he probably is the most level-headed person in these chapters.
In this section.
So, but here's what I liked about Theon. He's this weird mix of like Joe Schmo, dark and brooding with a past. He's trying to outrun an awkward nerd. Yeah. And I'm like, if you can pull that off,
that's true.
that's pretty impressive, right?
He does have a lot of layers.
Like, he's a doctor who's passionate about his job, but he also wants to murder Cranwell because he's passionate about Rose.
Right, yeah.
And then he also does weird things like ponder over whether to say something about Rose's leg hair. AKA fur.
I enjoyed that.
That isn't cringeworthy or dumb. That was hilarious.
That made me laugh a lot. He's like, don't say that, you idiot. I did enjoy that a lot.
So funny. And then when Rose asks for help, he just does it. Very few questions asked, like, okay, let's get rid of this body.
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, we're here already.
Oh, well.
Might as well.
Here we go. And as far as body disposals go, sinking in the river is pretty standard, actually. Like, this is Bryn Weaver land. I really thought that there was going to be a weirder way to
Well, yeah.
dispose of Eric, the
Leather
scumbag.
and Lark, we get dudes inside coffee tables.
Right.
Arts and crafts
I mean,
projects.
I thought that was kind of a cop-out. So I wanted to research and see if I could find any more interesting ways that we could take care of Eric. So
I bet there were all kinds of crazy things.
The internet did not disappoint.
I hope you used incognito mode.
I don't know if I did.
Your algorithm will tell you in the next couple of days.
So there's several of these, right?
Yeah.
And I started to call them weird. And I'm like, well, people may not understand that when I say weird, like that's a compliment.
Yeah.
People may actually do these. So I'm going to say
unique,
unconventional.
There you go.
So the first one I came across is in the past couple of years, actually, the UK has been adding water cremation to their options of body disposal, which I had never heard of.
I haven't either.
So it's more scientifically called alkaline hydrolysis.
Oh.
This process involves rapidly decomposing a corpse in a stream of water and alkaline chemicals like ammonia or lye.
Oh.
Yeah. This leaves only a liquid called effluent.
No, thank you.
And the bones. The liquid can then just be poured down the drain with other wastewater. Like, how convenient.
No.
Gross.
No.
And the bones are ground to ash for you to take home.
Oh, that's nice, I guess.
I don't know. It's weird.
This makes me think of earlier today. Our neighborhood has a weird little like tiny graveyard that is right outside the entrance. And we drove out of our neighborhood earlier today and my daughter said, why do we put people's bodies in the ground?
That is a good question.
That's a great question. And I was like, I don't even know. That's a great question. I genuinely don't know the answer of why we do that.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just to get rid of them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder where that came from. Like
maybe just like to get rid of them, right? Like what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, but like
which you're telling us what else.
But eventually, they come up with cremation, which
right.
that's and then this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not ready to have that conversation with my 6-year-old.
No,
but anyway,
no, yeah, that seems
your
a little
deep dive
awkward.
just made me think of that today. It's apropos of the topic at hand.
Yeah, when kids ask about death, it's actually like a little bit of a. It makes me like stop a second because I'm like, what is appropriate to say and what is not?
Yeah,
like you don't want to be lied to them, right?
One time she was like, well, first of all, she still doesn't understand that graveyards, cemeteries, it's like she thinks that's heaven.
Oh, okay.
Which like I get why she thinks that.
Yeah.
And we're trying to
because you say after somebody dies they go to heaven,
right? And so then we talked about this was like last week. We talked about like, well, will you put their body like their spirit goes somewhere else, right? Their body goes in the ground. She was like, even their heads? I was like,
only if they haven't been decapitated.
Right. I'm like, I'm not going to talk about this with my 6-year-old. Like, well, yeah, their heads too. Like, I guess she thinks we should cut people's heads off and keep them somewhere else. I don't know. Anyway.
That's hilarious. Well, maybe she thinks the spirit is part of the brain.
That's what I know. Right. Like, because she can't really think abstract.
Honestly, I wish I could think like a kid some days.
I know, right? Anyway, sorry.
We digress.
Derailed
That's okay.
us onto a left-hand turn there.
Well,
tell me more about body disposal.
The next thing is a little bit less disposal and more preservation.
Ooh.
So cryomation involves using liquid nitrogen to freeze the body to a very chilly negative 313 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my.
So there are two things you can do after that. You can do what is called fragmenting, which basically you like put this like frozen body on like a vibrating bed and it will, or a mat or something, and the brittle body will just start like, if you vibrate it turns into this like sterile powder or something. And then you use a magnet to get out all the metal and fillings and whatnot.
Oh my gosh.
And then the remains can be put in an urn or whatever.
Okay.
Or you can choose to skip the fragmenting and store the body intact. There are about 500 bodies cryonically stored around the world. I did not know this. Like people are really doing this. Like there's movies where you cryogenically freeze, or whatever. I did not realize this was an actual thing. Most of these are in the US, but
of course.
I know, right? But
that tracks.
If you haven't watched Idiocracy, go watch it. Unless you don't want to be more depressed about the state of our country, because it's a little frightening.
We laugh so we don't cry
and
scream into the void.
But if you want to do this, it's going to cost you about $200,000, not including the storage fees.
Oh, wow.
So the first corpse to be cryogenically frozen was actually a man named James Bedford in 1967.
Oh,
that early.
that's earlier than I would have
I
assumed.
know. It's so wild to me that was something like it feels like at that time it was a thing of sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
But I guess they were actually doing it.
I feel like I've heard that Walt Disney is cryogenically frozen, but I don't know if that's actually true.
I wonder.
I don't know if it's
Listeners,
true or not.
if you know what the answer to that is, share it with us. So if you can't afford that, though, then you can take a page from the Tibetan Buddhists and try sky burial.
Oh.
This has been a practice for more than 10,000 years and is still practiced today. So what you do is you take the body up to the top of a mountain and you leave it there.
That is not what I thought you were going to say.
It decomposes naturally, being exposed to the climate, and the vultures and crows help to pick through the remains. But this practice is actually typically illegal in Western countries and prohibited completely by law in the UK. So,
On what grounds? Like,
it was like what was it? There was in UK, there's a specific like body defilement act or something like that. Like
somebody must have been an absolute weirdo.
Right.
When you said sky burial, I'm going to be so totally honest.
Did you think like sending it up into the... Well, let me...
I thought you meant like catapulting. Like just see you later.
You wait.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so maybe instead you want to make your remains into what is called a reef ball. So you don't like the sky and you'd rather do the sea. This is where you mix cremated remains into concrete and you create an artificial reef. These balls, they have holes in them. Like think like a giant wiffle ball. Yeah. That's what it looks like. And then there's the holes for the fish to swim through, and their rough surfaces attract coral polyps that attach and grow on them. So it's basically like you're submerging all these dead bodies in the ocean and using it to help in the environment. So, I mean,
cool.
That's actually kind of neat.
That is cool.
Something I never, ever would have thought of. But they do kind of look funky. Like, I don't know. Like, it looks like a shipwreck or something. You know, it looked kind of weird. But
that is cool. I like that. That's unique.
So here we are to the one that creeps me out, and it's the space burial.
Oh, no.
You can pay around $12,000 for space burial, and your cremated remains will be launched into space. Typically, they'll be within an urn or a container, and then released into space. But most of these do not reach high enough to remain in orbit, and so they rain back down onto the Earth, miles from where they were launched.
So just like people's ashes?
Yeah. So like gravity and wind makes it go. So when you're outside, you may have ashes falling down on you.
What a beautiful circle of life moment.
Yeah. New anxiety unlocked.
I know, right?
I'm like, oh my God, that's so gross.
Oh yeah. I don't like that.
No, thank you.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. That was not fun. So let's move on then. So burial pods are another option. These are biodegradable egg-shaped capsules. Oh. So they have small ones that will house ashes, but there are larger ones that you can place the corpse into the
instead of a
fetal,
old school coffin.
You can place the corpse in a fetal position inside, and then you bury the pod in the ground and put a tree on top of it, and the decomposing body fertilizes the tree.
I like stuff like that.
Something that you would memorialize with, right? And it's useful. You're putting something back into the...
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the environment other than just like a headstone and, decomposing stuff. So I thought that was a really, really unique one.
Yeah, I like that.
And then next we have mushroom suits.
Mushroom suits?
Yes. Oh. So these are burial suits that are seeded with mushroom spores, which can decompose the body while also cleaning toxins out to keep them from leaking into the soil.
Oh.
So these are actually very eco-friendly.
Yeah.
There's a picture of a woman in one, and it's like basically black with these like red, almost looks like veins going through. It's very odd looking.
Yeah.
It looks very like somebody did a fashion show on space. But they're apparently super eco-friendly. And fun fact, Luke Perry, R.I.P. Dylan McKay, was buried in a mushroom suit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of love that.
I know. So
I like that kind of thing to make, not like give back, because that's not really the right word, but
not take away either. Like something a little more environmentally friendly, right. and also like that way they kind of live on.
Yeah, it's like more meaningful.
Yeah,
I like that.
So you might actually though be going for shock value.
Oh, no.
And if you want shock value, you might want to use plastination. First, a formaldehyde-based solution is used to kill any bacteria that threatens to rot your body. Next, the body is placed into a concentrated solution of acetone to remove excess water. This is like nail polish remover, right?
Right.
And then it is placed in a bath of liquid polymer like silicone or resin. And finally, the body is cured using heat or ultraviolet light, which hardens the polymer and preserves the tissue and organs all intact. So this process was invented by a German anatomist named Gunther von Hagens in 1977. It was initially to aid medical students who were struggling to work with quickly decomposing cadavers, which totally makes sense.
Right, yeah.
So later, though, he used it in his controversial Body Worlds exhibit that travels to museums and where people can view these bodies that look like they have had, basically look like they've had their skin peeled off. It's kind of gross. We actually had it here, I think, at the Fraser Museum, or maybe it was the Science Museum. I can't remember. We had it. It came to Louisville. I do know that. It's kind of gross, but kind of fascinating.
It's almost like high-tech mummification, sort of.
Yeah, but you can actually like see where the muscles connect and everything's like all intact. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's super weird. That makes me think I keep wanting to do a deep dive on this, but it just like doesn't make sense with our stuff that we talk about. There's this really insane case from, I don't even know how many years ago, but it was like a man who was obsessed with like a teenage girl. And I think this was like early 1900s.
Yeah.
And she got like typhoid fever or something, got sick and died. And he like stole her body from her family's like tomb or whatever and like mummified her body and kept her for years. And got caught because he was like dancing with her. I mean, it was like, it's so crazy, but that's just what.
That is so weird.
It was. It's like that. Not even scratching the surface.
Definitely mentally ill.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I keep wanting to do a deep dive on that because it is just such an insane
That's fascinating.
But I feel
This
like
guy
he would have really enjoyed being able to
this
do
exhibit.
That. Yes, he would have enjoyed
like,
being able to do that.
But it just looks so weird. It looks like you've like flipped everything inside out. It's so crazy. And if you're squeamish, don't look it up. But if you're fascinated like me, go look it up. It's actually really cool.
And then I bet it was super helpful for medical students.
Yeah,
too, honestly.
absolutely. It definitely has its purpose, right? But von Hagens, who also has Parkinson's disease, wants his own body to be used in his exhibit. But he also has been accused of using human corpses without consent. So
well, that's not
that's
good.
icky.
Yeah. I don't think you can do that anymore, sir.
No.
We're not like 1800s.
That's not kosher, dude.
Yeah, we're not like grave robbing for medical schools in the 1800s anymore.
So those are some alternative
Yeah.
burial methods that you might use if you don't want to push a car into the river.
They are alternative too, for sure. I either want to, and I don't know why I said I either want to just like be cremated or donate my body to like science and have like med school or whatever. My uncle did that with the med school.
I absolutely want mine to be used to better something else.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I've actually also heard like people get jewelry made out of the ashes. I think that's actually kind of cool. And now some people might think that's weird, but I kind of think it's good. Now, I don't think I would wear like a bottle with ashes in it, but if they compress them into some kind of stone,
right?
I think that'd be kind of cool.
They do that. They do that with ashes. I've seen people on TikTok getting made fun of because they do that with semen. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Isn't
that so insane?
Oh, that's so weird.
I know. I don't love that.
I don't love that either.
I know some people for their like grief process and closure, they really want that moment at a funeral of like the body viewing.
Yeah.
And they need that. Like my husband's family, like they're very big on that.
My mom was the same way.
I can't stand it. It really creeps me out. I don't enjoy it at all. So like I have told Robbie, like I would never do that to somebody else.
I know.
Like, with my own corpse.
I will never forget. Our neighbor died. He was very, very old. He was like 98. You know, he lived forever. He had a good life. And so we went to the funeral and we took the kids, not thinking it was going to be an open casket. And they were a little bit freaked out by that. If that's something you need, okay, fine. But I'm not going to have like a whole funeral of...
Yeah. No, thank you.
No.
Maybe I'll get a mushroom suit.
I like that idea. Or a burial pod.
Yeah. I enjoy that a lot. Well, let's talk about favorite secondary characters. Mine, again, might be a surprising choice. I picked Lachlan. Lachlan is my favorite Kane brother in general. So the quick little, pop in to say hi was exciting for me, especially when I was already really annoyed with Theon and feeling like he had a lot of Tamlin vibes. So I just enjoyed the
their banter was cute.
Yeah, just that short little conversation. I was like, hey, Lachlan.
Hey, boo.
I hope we see more of you later. Who was your favorite secondary character?
Mine was the stapler.
Oh.
So while gross to think about stapling eyelids up, that was actually a pretty genius solution to a problem. I mean, unhinged, but also okay.
Yeah, you being resourceful.
She actually thought that one through a little
bit more than anything else that she did. Yeah, 100%. Well, we've talked a little bit about favorite quotes. Did you have any other favorite quotes besides the fisticuffs?
I did. So the first one I had was describing Rose, and I think this might be Fion's inner monologue. I can't remember. Or maybe it was just talking about her. It's, but there's a mischievous streak in her that I think is maybe just a little fissure that leads to an endless well of chaos, which also inspired the drink this week.
That was one of mine.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was one of mine too.
I loved that. Bryn Weaver is such a wordsmith.
Yeah, she's really good.
She's, everything else put aside, she makes beautiful prose, right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that little imagery. And then the other one is actually from Rose, and it's after Fion rips off her bandage, and she says, I'm 99% sure you have no credentials and all, and that you won your stethoscope at the duck pond game.
I liked that one too. Yeah, I liked that mischievous streak quote a lot. And because I feel like it describes all three of the female main characters of this trilogy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that a lot. And the fisticuffs that we already talked about, I enjoyed. And then you mentioned this as well when Fion is thinking about what he should say about Rose's unshaved legs.
Her fur.
Yeah, he's like, I like carpet. Fur is hot. I thought that was really funny. And then my last one is actually going to bring me into my deep dive.
Okay.
Fion says she is rubbing her shirt, I think, on the truck guy's phone.
Oh, yeah.
And to clean it off. And he says, that's good. Make sure you get the evidence really embedded in the fibers. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Because I was so annoyed with Rose and all the mistakes I felt like she was making by going after Eric, who is the truck guy, going after him on a whim instead of thinking it through. So let's just think about this for a second.
Yes.
Let's think about all of these facts of the situation. First of all, she's on crutches with a broken leg, and he is an able-bodied bigger guy, right? Yeah. He's already stronger than her, but especially because she has a broken leg and is on crutches. Also, there's a witness putting her and Eric together in the hunting store, the hunting supply store.
Well, and you can assume that there were probably people on the streets that saw her get into the car.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. And so this witness putting her and him together in the store is also the same witness that sells her a weapon.
Oh, right.
She just watched Eric purchase gun ammunition. And she has a knife. There's a saying about that. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? She just gets in his car, which, what if it was locked? What were you going to do? That was just dumb
and
luck.
What if there wasn't a blanket to put over you? What if there was nothing there? You're just going to sit in the back?
It's just dumb luck, right? And so she's in his car with all of her fingerprints, hair possibly being left, fibers from her clothes. She's leaving a ton of potential evidence. And then she attacks him in a moving vehicle with absolutely no plan at all. No plan to escape with a broken leg and crutches. And then she throws up in his car, which leaves even more of her DNA in it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yes.
She threw up because it was so gross. Bloody and gross. Yeah. Which I'm like, bitch, you passed out when you broke your leg. You gagged and almost threw up when you stuck the stuff, the pina colada straws or whatever it is, and what's his face's eye. We know that you have an issue with this.
Yes.
So why are we doing this? You know what I mean? And just, she didn't even put her phone on silent, which of course it goes off.
Yeah, that was dumb too.
And alerts him to her presence before she's ready for him to be alerted to her presence in the moving vehicle. She has no way to clean up his truck or dispose of his body. And she leaves digital evidence by dropping a location pin to Fion's phone.
Yeah.
So now Eric's phone, Rose's phone, and Fion's phone
Can all be traced back to that one location.
Can all be traced back to that one location off the pinging of like cell phone towers and stuff that they can do now. Okay. What the heck? So I listed all that stuff out and I was like, well, shit, no wonder I'm annoyed with her stupidity. And it got me thinking, like, first of all, how is she not going to get caught? But second of all, like, what kind of dumb mistakes have people made in real life to get them caught?
I mean, people are always saying that criminals are so dumb.
And they are, right? And it's usually something stupid to get people caught, right? So I've linked an article in the show notes that has 10 examples. These are specific to serial killers, mistakes that they have made. And I'm not going to share all of them, but I am going to directly quote the article a lot because the writer, the way he wrote the stuff just made me really laugh. This is written by somebody named Nicholas Vrichatiki. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's clearly, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's on a website called listverse.com, but it made me laugh a lot. These are just a few of my favorites. So first up, we've got the scorecard killer, Randy Kraft, which I had never heard of. He was convicted of killing 16 people, but investigators suspect as many as 67.
Yikes.
He was brought down in 1983 after being pulled over for erratic driving. When he exited the car, Kraft slung his beer bottle to the side and earned himself a ride downtown for DUI, right? After Kraft was safely secured in the back of the police car, the arresting officer went to check on the passenger in the front seat, but the young man wouldn't wake up. Which happens when you're dead.
Yeah.
He had one of his victims,
like
riding,
strapped in with a seatbelt?
I don't know if it was a seatbelt. This was 1983, so probably didn't even have seatbelts. He just like put one of these dead victims in the front seat of his car and then drank while he was driving.
And then throws the bottle out.
And I mean, what an idiot, right?
Yeah.
So that was number one. Second example, Dennis Nielsen. He was convicted of 6 North London murders in 1983. He moved to an upstairs apartment from his previous ground level apartment without a yard in which to bury bodies because he's not on the ground floor anymore.
Right.
He had to come up with a new method of disposal. He should have done one of your ideas, but he did what any psychotic murderer would do. He flushed his victims' decomposing flesh down to goldfish heaven.
Oh my God.
And just like flushable wipes, this quickly became a problem.
Yeah.
Clogging the drains for the entire building. And it was very quickly discovered that human remains caused the blockage, and investigators were very easy.
That probably smelled so
Can you
bad.
imagine? They were easily able to like figure out who it was and get him. Ooh. But I'm just like, hello. I just stupid. This one is just hilarious to me of its stupidity. This one I did know about. So Dennis Rader, he was known as the BTK killer, bind, torture, and kill. He eluded police for 30 years. He killed 10 people between 1974 and 1991 and then disappeared until 2004. And after his reemergence, he was taunting investigators with packages and coded messages and even left a note asking the authorities if it would be safe for him to communicate via a floppy disk. Investigators were like,
in 2004?
In 2004, yeah. So he asked, like, are you guys going to be able to figure out who I am if I do this by a floppy disk? And they were like, yeah, no, go ahead. So they took out an ad in the Wichita Eagle, like how they were communicating with him, and assured him this is what the writer said, assuring him he'd be super duper perfectly safe. So they were lying, and they were able to pull all the information they needed to track the killer down from the floppy disk that he used, which was a connection to his church, which led them to him, and that's how they were able to catch him. By his own like stupid question. Like, why would they tell you the truth anyway?
Well, first of all, floppy disk in 2004.
Can you believe that?
I'm pretty sure they already had flash drives.
Yes, we were using USBs for sure. And the writer says, he ended that little section in this article, like they say, love all, trust few, and maybe don't strangle people. Which really, really made me laugh. And then the last example that I'm going to share, but there are more in the article. Peter Goebbels, whose serial killing was a product of his serial raping, because he was a real piece of shit, must not have known rule number 1. He had a short run strangling 4 victims through 1984 and 1985 in Berlin. And he is not typically remembered for his killings. He's known instead as that one killer stupid enough to leave his ID at the crime scene.
Oh my God.
Authorities didn't have to waste a whole lot of time investigating when you leave all of your information at the murder.
He took the calling card
Too literally.
Too literally.
Yeah, it's like he just like dropped his driver's license or whatever and left it in one of the crime scenes with all of his information, which I really enjoyed that little tidbit. Just like, what an idiot. But yeah, so those are my favorites from that article. There are more examples. The way the writer worded things I thought was really funny.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
I guess time will tell if Rose and Fionn are going to end up on a list like this too, with all of her
I mean,
stupidity.
she fucked up pretty bad.
I mean, maybe some of the water would like wash away some of her DNA and stuff, but I don't know.
I don't know.
You throw up on a blanket. I don't know how much of that, like if you can completely erase that, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Especially if they didn't like roll down the windows and it's like all contained.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. So I can't imagine how she wouldn't get caught.
I know.
But
there's no way.
And that also brings me to my first question, because that's our next section, right? What questions do you need to be resolved? This really bothered me. Why doesn't Fionn call Lachlan when he gets there to this random location pin and he like realizes what's
the guy that does all the cleanup?
That is literally Lachlan's job.
Yeah.
And I know that he's not like down the road. I get that he lives far away. But why would he not at least be like, dude, I'm in deep shit.
Yeah.
Help me. Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't.
That is really weird.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I understand from the conversation that we saw in this section with Lachlan that Fionn is like trying to keep Rose off of Leander's radar.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why, but he didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't, we don't
But again, he doesn't think. And I think that's part of it.
We saw it from Rose's perspective too, actually. So maybe that's not fair. Because what I was going to say is it doesn't even cross his mind to call Lachlan, but I guess we saw that part from Rose's POV. So maybe it did cross his mind.
And he was like, no, I don't want to get this involved. I don't want to have to explain myself.
But I just think that's really...
It's really stupid when you've got that resource to make it go away.
With all of the mistakes I feel like she had already made. Like, why would you not call your brother professional cleaner-upper to help with that? I don't get that. That was the only question I had this section. I was like, why?
I actually didn't have one, but now I have that question too.
Like I just, it seems too obvious.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. So, well, Mindy, why don't you tell us what you're looking forward to?
Well, the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is meeting Fionn's crochet ladies.
Oh, yeah. The Suture sisters.
So excited to meet I hope we get to meet them. I'm assuming that they don't bring that. She wouldn't bring that up.
For nothing. Yeah.
So I'm curious what these ladies' personalities are and how they treat Fionn and
how he fits in.
Yeah.
With the Suture sisters. I love that too. Well, honestly, I'm looking forward to less annoying behavior from these two main characters because I really like them and I want to like them and I want them to be together and get together and all that stuff. But I need a little bit more thought process and a little less impulsivity. Yeah. Because it's creating too many insane situations when I feel like the premise of this book is already insane enough. Like, I don't need it to be more crazy.
Right.
You know?
And I think we're at a weird, this is a big job for Bren Weaver too, we've introduced these characters. We already love them.
Right.
I think our expectations are high, and so far my expectations haven't been met.
Yeah. And it's only the second section.
I know.
So I'm gonna hold off on the judgment.
Right.
I liked the first section better than this section.
Yeah,
I will say
too.
that.
Yeah.
But this section was just like, ugh.
I know. And I'm like, where's it going to go from here too?
Yeah. I'm a little afraid.
Is it going to get more chaotic?
I know. I feel like it probably will. But I am also looking forward to more pop-ins from our other main characters from the other two books, right? Because we know these timelines are overlapping, and I'm assuming that we're going to see the Butcher and Blackbird like restaurant opening,
right?
And that kind of
with
stuff.
Lark and all that.
Yeah, maybe the wedding. I don't know, but I would like to see more from those other main characters that don't super annoy me. Is there anything else that you had about this section of the book?
I think I have anything else.
Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we will still be discussing Scythe and Sparrow. We're going to be discussing the chapters Sutures through Beast Mode. And don't forget, our Tuesday episodes are back. We've got lots of fun content and author interviews, so make sure you go check them out. And hey, if you like listening to our show, give us a review. Yeah. Give us a 5-star.
Give us a follow. Give us a like.
Yeah. Subscribe. Follow. Send us a message and let us know we made you smile.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.